important message. I love you. Interrupt our program to bring you this important message. I love you. Interrupt our program to bring you this important message. I love you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Cabin Fever and the Dean Callan Show. Today is Tuesday, so today is Talking Tools Tuesday. I'm not sure how long I'm going to continue doing Talking Tools Tuesday. It was something that I started ages ago. We just ran out of ideas, which I probably will continue to run out of ideas on this show, especially doing 5 shows a week. I'm almost tempted to scale it back to 3 shows a week. If anyone would be like, upset by that, let me know. I don't think anyone would. I'm going to keep pushing for 5, but it might be the case that I have to scale back to 3. So I've got some extra days to do more work outside of this. I do love doing the show though, so I might push to keep it. Anyway, on today's show, we're going to be doing Talking Tools Tuesday, which means I'm going to be talking about a tool. The tool I'm going to be talking about is my teapot, which I love. I love my teapot. I just polished the inside of it so it wasn't all sweaty looking for the camera, and it's looking sweaty again. So I might just let that sit for a little while. On the show today, as a result of doing Talking Tools Tuesday on the teapot, I'm also going to make a TeaZuwari. Now, you're probably asking yourself, what the is a TeaZuwari? A TeaZuwari is a cocktail that I did not create. It had been done before, but it's basically whiskey and tea. Now, when I was in Asia for a few years, I realized that basically everybody was drinking whiskey and tea, but there wasn't a name for it. And this particular TeaZuwari is literally, a dram of whiskey and then 2 parts to the whiskey being 1 part of tea. I'm trying to pair the tea with the quality of the whiskey. So different teas, different whiskeys, different teas, different base spirits, basically. So you can make a rum TeaZuwari. You can make a Balvenie, a whiskey TeaZuwari, which is what I'm going to make today. That was the kind of first one that I really fell in love with. Also on the show today, we have Mitch's Minute. Other than that, no one else contributed. So I've got, and there are people that want to contribute, but I want to make sure that there's some content that means something to people as well. So I don't want to be asking people just to contribute and then not have something for them to contribute towards. I want them to have a theme. So from here on in, I'm going to try to theme days ahead of time. Today is TeaZuwari Day. Tomorrow, I don't know. I'll figure that out later on, but I'm going to definitely figure it out today ahead of tomorrow. Now, where was I? Oh, I do have a video, which I think is the cutest thing ever in the whole history of the world. My wife, Electra, has gone back full-time to work now. So now that she's back at work, she's got to work from her work desk. And last night we set up her work desk. And Axel, since she's had her work desk, if she sits down at it, all he wants is to be at that desk. So he does this thing where he's on the couch and we're chilling out and he's hanging out with his dad and he's having a great time. And then he sees his mum sit down at the work desk and he just wants me to help him. And he does this, he puts his arms up and he holds your finger here and holds this finger and walks, right? But he won't walk without the aided balance. And he walks straight over to his mum's desk and wants to be at it. So I captured, Electra's probably going to kill me, but I captured some video late last night of Axel hanging out at his mum's desk trying to work with her. It's the sweetest thing in the whole world. I'm going to leave that there. Look at him. And then we file the papers. No, that's not filed properly. I'm not finished with this piece of paper. I love it. He doesn't know what the keyboard does, but he just starts bashing it. So cool. Anyway, as you can tell, I'm a very proud dad. that probably looked like a really lame video to anybody else, but to me, it's just constantly seeing him want to be over and sat with his mum and doing work stuff. It was amazing. Anyway, next up, TeaZuwari, right? What am I doing? What am I ranting about? What is a TeaZuwari, you ask? Well, it's whiskey and tea. But because it's Talking Tools Tuesday, I want to show you my teapot. Now, when I say teapot, it's more of a tea maker. This thing is epic, right? So it's got this base. And you can see there's lots of different buttons, right? Now, I don't know how many people out there know this. Look, it's all steamy again. Damn it. It's from making tea. I was making myself one last tea before we started. Right, so inside here, you have a glass container, right? Now, it goes on here. Little basket, you can see, goes inside. I've just got to do something. Bam. Right. This basket goes inside and it magnetizes to the side walls. So, when you want to make a cup of tea with this, it's not a simple case of just boil the water, pour it over the tea. You start by putting some water in, right? Now I'm going to leave this here. Get some super aerated water in there. And in the meantime, the tea I'm using is a white silver tip tea. So it's a high altitude, I think it's Taiwanese, this one. White tea leaves. They're silver needle tea. It's super awesome tea. So I think, how much have I got to get it up to? 750, right. So stop. So there we got this one. So on the back, it's got the measurements of how much you've got in there. And I like to bring it up to 750 ml because that's exactly one bottle. Like, you know, if you're reusing old empty spirit bottles, it's exactly the right amount to be pouring and decanting the tea out. Now, for this, for 750 mils with the white rare tea, I use 20 grams. Got to be exact, because this stuff is expensive. The reason I'm doing tea, I think I might just continue to do tea all week in different kind of ways, is because I thought to myself, like, a lot of the drinks that we've been making on the show are not like, you know, stuff that you can make with stuff that you got at home, but people have tea at home. And I started thinking, like, right, what is everyone else that's better than me at all this kind of stuff doing, and what are they making? They must be using ingredients that anyone can get at home. So I started seeing what other people were doing, and I caught Ali Reynolds. Everyone knows Ali Reynolds. He's a world famous bartender. He caught my eye because he was doing basically his best impression of Tom Walker, doing like an overhead view. So, like, if you don't know what I mean by an overhead view, he was basically doing this one. If I can get it to switch. So Tom Walker has a series where everything he does, you know, he brings in the thing and he's got like that thing there, and then he puts the thing in here, and then your basket's in. I might switch back to the normal view for this, right? So you put your tea in the basket, this magnetizes to here. Ali was doing this overhead. I just ripped it off on my phone like 3 or 4 minutes before the show started. So I'm going to show it. Right, so you measured out your tea, it goes in this basket. You've got your boiler sitting here, this top goes on, right? And it's a really good tea maker, but as a kettle, it won't work without the top on, right? I don't know how that works. It must just tell itself that it's got the top on. If you boil a whole kettle full of hot water, there's a vacant kind of, there's a slot here, and when you go to pour it, steam comes out of there. Kind of a design flaw. But when you're making tea, it's got all these different options. So let me just see if I can cut back to this one, right? And I'll show you from here. On this little LED display, That's telling you how long it's been since I last made a cup of tea, right? So here you've got 100 degrees and it says 2 minutes 30. So that's a custom profile that I built. But actually here, if you click this, it goes to white tea, which is what we need. And that's 85 degrees. And then you've got different strengths: custom, mild, medium, and strong. And then you've got herbal tea, oolong tea. You've got your custom function, obviously, green and black. Black, say you were making an English breakfast tea or an Irish breakfast tea or even an Earl Grey tea, you're going to black. But in this case, we're going to white. So it sets the right temperature. And then I'm going to go medium for this one because I do 2 flushes, right? So now we've got all the settings set up. This guy goes on top and you just press T, right? Now, is that still in shot? I'm just going to leave that there, right? And then I'm going to build my TeaZuwari. Did it start? Yeah, it started. So it measures, it goes up in 5 degree increments. So 15, 20, 25, and it slowly gets to the temperature. When it gets to 85 degrees, it will then hold the water at 85 degrees, bring the basket in, infuse the tea into the water for the 3 minutes at the temperature it's meant to be, 85 the whole time, brings it back up, and then I think it drops down to around 70, but it then maintains the temperature in the pot for a period until you basically take the pot off, and the tea isn't continuing to infuse, but it's kept at the right temperature. I love this thing. Love it. Right, so in the interest of time, here is some tea I prepared earlier. Well, what's left of it. So there's some tea I've prepared earlier, and it's got little bits in it. So basically what I do with this, I'll show you when it's ready. I make that, I put a little bit of sugar in it, and when I say a little bit, I mean like a bar spoon of sugar to bring out just a little bit more flavor and to balance against the whiskey. And in this particular mix, I put a slice of orange, a slice of lemon, and a slice of lime. So I've got 3 different types of citrus in there, but it's like the tiniest little drop. Add it into the hot tea, let it cool, take the citrus out, and then bottle the tea. So you've got like cold tea mix. You can also force carbonate that. It's nice, but I mean, it's not necessary to carbonate it. It's good for like your kind of highballish sort of, you know, if you're mad into highballs. So I'm going to make a little baby one. Now, the first time I made this, I made it with, well, the first time I made it for people, I made it with Balvenie 14-year-olds heavily peated. So, I mean, it was absolutely delicious. It was on a Balvenie bartender trip, which happens annually. They take, I think it's around 25, 30 bartenders from all over the world to Balvenie distillery. They do a tour of the distillery and they stay in this beautiful old mansion called Glenmuick, and everyone tries insanely amazing Balvenies. We tried 4 50-year-olds in one day. David Stewart comes and explains, you know, how he makes Balvenie, the whole story. It's amazing, and I made this for the guys on arrival, and then I made a big batch of the tea so that they could have either the non-alcoholic cold iced tea, or they could add the tea to the whiskey, and they got TeaZuwari. People loved it. It went down a treat. You know, hashtag TeaZuwari. Right, so now I'm going to do the week of peat because that was the one that we actually used, but you could use the 14-year-old peated if you've got it. Again, it's not about the whiskey. It's about just kind of get creative with teas. You've got tea. You might have some booze, but get creative. So for every one of those, I'm going to put 2 of these and no garnish. Right, so that's just as is. We played around with some garnishes on the day and everything like that, but in reality, what you're trying to do is you're trying to give the whiskey, see the way it's infusing by itself? Look at that, it's magic. You're trying to give the whiskey a mixer that, rather than just putting water You could just put water, but then you're just drinking whiskey and water, which is a TeaZuwari. By giving it that little hint from the tea, and when I say hint, I mean hint. White needle tea is actually quite light and delicate. So this is a really delicate tea, the tiniest hint of sugar to offset the booziness at 48.3%, and then a little bit of citrus just to give it a zingy lift. But rather than just putting water and just putting a tiny dash of bitters or something like that, the tea has natural tannins in it and astringency that pair with the tannin and astringency that you would get from a cask, and give the cask's tannin and astringency a bit more length so you can taste it all the way through without it being 48.3%. In saying that, it's like super delicious. It still tastes like whiskey. Like, this, so good. And the best part about this is because it was such an amazing trip that we went on up in Balvenie, I'm straight away transported back to that when I taste this, because I don't be just mixing this all the time. I normally drink it straight. So this is absolutely delicious. To make the tea, once your tea is brewed, now you're going to see how light this stuff is. It barely discolors the water, but there's plenty of flavor in it. Once your tea is brewed, get your mixing jug, which I should have probably prepared earlier. Damn, oh, there it is. Happy days. All right. Mixing jug. When this guy's ready, what I do for my citrus, and I mean super, super thin slices. You could get a mandolin. Just a single thin, juicy, fleshy slice of orange. The same for lemon. All right, I'm getting comments. I hope it's not something bad like the audio is dead or something. All right, happy days. It's still working by the looks of it. And one thin slice of lime, right? Now, this drink, when we were drinking it, now we had been drinking quite a lot of straight whiskey, so if you're not a whiskey drinker, you might not like this because it really does bring the flavor all the way through the drink. Is this dying on me? No. It's just 3 minutes feels like a really, really long time. All right, so here's the tea coming back up. And it's technically done, but what I've been doing is I do one infusion like this, and then I take the tea basket out, pour the tea in here, so he tells you that it's ready. Tea basket can come straight out, pour the tea in there. Now, we might not need all of that. What a shame. This guy goes back in, and then you take your empty glass bottle, exactly 700 again, and you can do a second flush. I would then blend the two together so that they're both mixed together. And again, it's a very light touch of tea. You don't need it to be super powerful. Like, you know, if you're going to make English breakfast tea, I would even go as far as if you insist on using something black with loads and loads of bold flavors, a fermented tea as well. I'd maybe do like a milk punch wash with the tea to remove some of the astringency and overbearing flavor, so you've got the background flavor of the tea. And then using lemon juice in the milk punch, you're getting some of the citrus. You can put a bit of sugar back into it, and you're getting effectively this nice and clean, but you've still got some of those floral notes from the tea. This is just like, oh my God, so good. Right, so this goes aside and just let it naturally cool. Don't try to cool it down too fast. Don't put it in ice, it'll over dilute. Just let it naturally cool. And you've got your tea for your TeaZuwari. I've done lots of different examples of it. Doing the milk punch thing works really well with Earl Grey tea, and then you can use gin and make an Earl Grey martini, right? Well, an upgraded version of the Earl Grey martini. Who invented the Earl Grey martini? I think was it Jake Berger? Did Jake Berger invent that? I don't know. Anyway, Earl Grey martini works really well with the lemon and everything. And I think God, that tastes good. I'm going to have another one of those. And look, this is the great thing, right? The ice hasn't even begun to melt. And all I'm doing, pouring the whiskey, I'm topping it up. There was a little silver needle leaf in that. What can you do? Oh. Honestly, I can't even explain how good that tastes. One day I want to make one of you guys one of these for real. Okay, so moving on. Mitch's Minute, episode 26. Let's see Mitch in action.
Desert Island bottle. Desert Island bottle. Okay, for a start, I'm not taking one bottle. I'm going on Desert Island, I'm taking 5. That's a fucking acceptable limit. I take some Campari, a bottle of Gonzales Bias Montiato, the 30-year-old, for drinking during the day. Bottle of the Kashika, or whatever it's called, the one made with the overripe, real old agaves that Enrique has. That stuff's the fucking bomb. That's for, like, you know, shots during the day and at night and stuff. All of those, I think, could handle a little bit of salt water, and depending on what fruit grows on the island. And then for evening drinking, bottle of Highland Park 18, bottle of Belvini 17. Nothing too crazy, just two nice high marks, refined, you know, make me feel a little bit more at home on the island, you know.
All right, and we're back. I love cutting to the videos because I'm able to then, like, look at the comments and interact with everyone, which is quite cool. And yeah, judging by, like, there's real comments, like there's people watching, which is my favorite thing. Hi everyone. This is delicious. And yeah, Audrey Saunders for Earl Grey Martini. I was sure it was Jake Berger. Yeah, Audrey beat him to it, right? If Audrey hadn't invented it, Jake would have invented it at some point. Right, so this guy goes back. Now, I told you before that I took Ali Reynolds' video off the internet illegally, hoping he doesn't get upset with me. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play his video, and then I'm going to attempt. I was going to do an overhead, but I don't know if it'll work. You've seen I have the overhead view, but I'm just like, let's just do this. Cut to Ali. I'm going to listen to how he makes the drink. Let me know if the audio echoes. And then I'm going to attempt to, like I'm at home in my kitchen, to make the drink that he is making. Like, I started watching it, and I know he uses Johnny Walker in it, but other than that, I'm not really 100% sure what he's got in there. So, yeah, let's see how this plays out. All right. Can everyone hear me?
Okay, hi guys. Follow my hands. I am doing drink number 2 for, I guess, the cocktails at home sessions from the Diageo brand ambassadors. This one is very much concentrating on your favorite whiskey in the house, or your favorite spirit of choice, and it's based around probably one of the most, if not the most popular cocktail in the world, which is the Old Fashioned. The Old Fashioned typically is just any intoxicating liqueur, sugar, water and bitters all stirred down, served over ice, with a orange zest, or a cherry, or both, or an orange slice. There's a million different adaptations of this drink, but it's a great one, especially for the brown spirit lovers out there, or the dark spirit lovers. So this drink that I'm going to make is stirred down. So I've just got my tin of ice here. I've made some sugar syrup, which I've infused with a little bit of white jasmine tea. So I'm just going to pour over about 2.5 to 5 mils, depending how sweet you want it. Once it's in there, you can't take it out, but we can add it in afterwards. Okay, so always try and balance your cocktails out like that. To this, I'm going to add, in the form of my bitters, I've got some Fernabranca. Fernabranca is an Italian style bitters. It's made with some wonderful ingredients. The predominant flavour is mint. We're going to add 2.5 mils to the mixing cup there. But this has got some wonderful, as I said, wonderful flavours. A real bitterness to it, kind of chamomile tea coming through heavily as well. So there's these wonderful honey, minty notes, some dark chocolate notes in there, but this overriding bitterness as well, which is great for cocktails. To this, I'm going to add one of my favourite whiskies, probably my favourite blend that I've tried over the last few years. It is an exceptional whiskey. This is the Johnny Walker Blue Label Ghost and Rare. This one here is based around the distillery Brewer, which no longer produces whiskey at the moment. Alongside this, the ghost distilleries or the closed distilleries in this blend are Pittivaic and Cambus, a grain whiskey distillery. And then the rarer whiskies are coming from distilleries all over Scotland, which include Clynelish. Clynelish is up on the east coast in the Highlands. Pound for pound, probably my favourite whiskey. So if you're buying a whiskey and you want something kind of unique and something that you get a good bang for your buck, Clynelish 14-year is by far one of my favourites. Wonderful whiskey for the price. Alongside the Clynelish, going into the blend, we have Glenlossie, we have Royal Lochnagar, we have Cameron Bridge and Glenkinchie down in the lowlands near Edinburgh. So here's the bottle. Very much staying on point with the Blue Label bottling that we do. But as you see, a darker blue. We've got this copper top here, and we've got a list of the distilleries down the side here that, from Scotland. And this is all blended together by our master blender, Jim Beveridge. It's in at 46%. It's got a little bit more of a whack, but being something that is based around Brora, we were expecting all these wonderful kind of honey, tropical fruit, sherried notes, and this wonderful waxiness, which is typical of Clynelish. So a lot going on, but perfectly balanced. And as I said before, by far one of my most favourite whiskies. So to this mix of sugar and Fernabranca, I'm just going to add ever so slightly over 50 millilitres of the whiskey. So it's really a celebration of the whiskey. I've got the bottle here. I'm lucky enough to have this bottle here at home, and what I do think is that this is maybe a bit more fun to have with the whiskey. I've tried it neat, I've tried it with water, I've tried it on ice, and I'm just going to try it in a cocktail and at least try and highlight some more of the great flavours that I find in there. So this wonderful sweetness and these wonderful kind of mysterious waxy bitter notes that kind of go through this wonderful sherry versus honey flavour that I find in this blend. So we're going to stir this down quickly. We don't want it to dilute too much, but we do want to add a bit of water in there. So we stir it down until the outside of the tin is cold. If you've got a bar spoon, great. This is an old mixing tool. This is my crazy horse. He just goes around in circles because he never knows where to go. That's that there. And then finally, we'll just pour it into your favourite whiskey glass or rocks glass. We're not going to pour it over any ice. Once we've poured it over ice there, what we'll get is some more dilution, but we've diluted it perfectly there. What I am going to add is a ice cold whiskey stone. This one's made of granite. These are kind of old school things. You don't really see them much anymore, but it's a nice way to keep the drink cold and won't dilute it anymore. And it looks kind of nice, I guess. It does also look a bit like a golf ball, but we'll get over that. That's it, guys. That's my drink with quite possibly my favourite blended Scotch in the world at the moment. Some great bitters from Ferner Branca and some homemade sugar syrup. If you're making the sugar syrup at home, 2 cups of sugar, 1 cup of water. You can either use tea and do the same in replacement for the water, as I did with the jasmine tea there. And that's it, really. Super simple drink. Cheers. Thanks for tuning in. See you all soon. Cheers. Cheers.
Right, and there's my attempt at that. So let's see if we can zoom in on that. No, can I? It won't let me? Nope. And then the cheers, right? Was that fun? I had the whiskey stones in the other freezer. How lucky was that? Did not have the ghosted blue label though. That's tasty. That's really tasty. I know it's not the same tea syrup that I used, but I just added sugar syrup to the cold iced tea that I already had, which is pretty handy. Yeah, just added a little bit extra compared to what he said. Who can measure 2.5 mils, by the way? Can anyone measure 2.5 mils? I've never practiced measuring 2.5 mils. And that was my attempt to keep up with Ali Reynolds. I'm glad he didn't show his face in it. You know, it's very hard to keep up with a man as handsome as he is on video, direct comparison. But at least we got the overhead view in. This has been the Dean Callan Show, Talking Tools Tuesday, the TeaZuwari. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been a nice distraction, and I'll see you tomorrow.